Hello and welcome to the very first ever cereal review. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, cereal, it all tastes the same. Oh, blah, 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 it's not good. But wait a second, dear viewer. This is not just any cereal. These are the cereals we're reviewing today. I'm reviewing it. Hi, I'm Chad from C Plus Comedy. Now, of course, these two cereals are very special because they star both Superman and Batman. This is for the Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice movie. I'm not going to lie to you, I had to look at the back of the box to remember who was first. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this into 3 different videos. The first video will cover Superman. Of course, we'll talk about everything Superman, from his powers to his sidekicks to his enemies and everything in between. But this is just going to be kind of a gloss over, and then we're going to taste the cereal, see how it tastes, see how it feels in our mouths, and see what kind of flavor that we have here. Of course, this flavor is going to be something like chocolate strawberry. So we'll see how that tastes. That's actually Batman. I'm an idiot. I've been pointing to the wrong cereals the entire time. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I'm not redoing this. Superman's cereal is Caramel Crunch cereal. Okay, now that's probably gonna taste, I'm gonna take a little guesstimate as to what it tastes like. It's probably gonna taste something like, I don't know, the Captain Crunch cereals, a little bit of caramel in it, maybe Honey Smacks, because that's got some caramel, I assume, I don't know. Honeycomb, that is not anywhere near the caramel territory. Okay, let's dive into this cereal. Batman, I'm sorry, go fly away, go find your parents. Get out of here. We are going to start eating Superman. First things first, let's take a look at the box. Of course, we have a Superman emblem right here. The S stands for hope, if you guys didn't know that. And it's got a little feel to it, got a little glossy feel. I'm not even going to lie, I'm probably going to pick up 2 more boxes. 1 to keep and then 1 to eat if I like the cereal. If not, just 1 to eat. To keep, of course. So, it's a limited time cereals. Naturally, it's flavored with natural flavors. No colors from artificial sources, no artificial flavors, no high fructose corn syrup. You guys don't care about that. I'm still going to go read the nutrition facts. 9 grams of sugar. Okay. All right, cool. All right, anyway. So, on the back, we've got a Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice quiz, I guess. Let's see what we got here. While the world wrestles with the kind of hero it really needs, it's time to decide once and for all where your allegiances lie. Sorry, take the quiz to see which superhero you know best. Where are the answers? You know what? Don't care. I'm going to look at the quiz. I'm going to get everything right. Number 1. What is Superman's birth name? Is it A, Kal-El, B, Jor-El, C, Tor-El, D, Ray-El? All right. The first answer is A, of course. It's Kal-El. B, Jor-El is his dad. I don't know who Tor-El and Ray-El are. Ray-El sounds like everybody loves Raymond's brother. He was jealous of him all the time, but he has superpowers. Next up, 2. True or false? When first introduced in the comics, Kryptonite was originally red. I'm going to go with true. Yes? Am I right? Hell yeah. All right, cool. I know that. Let's see. 3. What year did Batman first appear on film? A, 1966, B, 1989, C, 1964, D, 1943. The answer is D, 1943. Okay. 4. What does the S on Superman's chest mean in Krypton? I gave this one away. It's A, Superman, of course. On Krypton, they all have Superman. B, leader. C, hope, or D, child. I really want it to be D. But no, it's C. It's hope. Number 5, in the battle between Superman and General Zod, which of Bruce Wayne's properties were destroyed? A, Wayne Manor, B, Wayne Financial, C, Wayne Aerospace, D, Wayne Tech. And the answer to that one is Wayne Financial, because there's a big building in the middle. If you haven't seen the trailer by now, you're missing out. The trailer's great. Chad, superimpose the trailer right here. That'll be great. Just not a click thing, just the little teaser. 6. In which of the comic book was the first full-fledged team-up of Superman and Batman? A, Detective Comics, number 27, 1939. B, World's Finest, number 2, 1941. C, Superman 76, 1942. or D, Superman / Batman #1 2006? Well, it's definitely not number one. It's definitely not number one. It's definitely not letter D. Definitely not letter A. Of course, I'm gonna go with C because Batman appeared in Superman comic earlier. Which of these is not a power Superman possesses? A, flight. B, heat vision. C, telepathy. D, X-ray vision. Now, I want to give you the answer. It's C, telepathy. But the interesting thing is here that there's a theory going around that Superman, Clark Kent actually, might have telepathy because not everybody can pinpoint who's Superman because they don't think it's Clark Kent, bumbling Clark Kent with the fake glasses and the 6'6" frame and the huge arms and chest and, just a giant guy. No one believes that those two people are the same. Anyway, the answer is C, telepathy. All right, now let's dig in. All right, let's give it a whiff. Caramel crunch. You gotta smell it like wine. You gotta open your mouth, smell with all your holes. Okay, it does smell like caramel. Let's get a little dry taste we got here. It's a good dry cereal. It's a really good dry cereal. Okay. Let's get that in here. This is the first time I've ever done a video review. And the first time I've ever done a food review. So, plenty of written reviews. I don't know what I'm doing in my life. It's a good cereal. It's a fantastic cereal. I can see myself buying that again. It's a really great cereal. Okay, now let's talk Superman. So if you didn't know who Superman is, you're an idiot, you're stupid. He's one of the biggest superheroes out there. He started in the in the 40s, created by two Jewish guys. And of course he was supposed to be this whole, I guess, kind of not Jewish superhero, but he stood for the Jewish community, secretly, thematically. And then he just evolved into one of the biggest things of all time. Of course, we're talking about, Superman. He's got powers of flight, heat vision, X-ray vision, solar flare, strength and endurance. He's got super speed and reflexes, master combatant. Sometimes he was trained by Wildcat, who's also kind of the Batman, part of the Batman canon, but he's trained by Wildcat, and sometimes he can fight really well. Most of the comics depict him as somebody just goes straight for it, like a brawler. He's like punch, punch, punch. No, sometimes Superman can actually go hand to hand with some people. Of course, he's also got super hearing, super smell, super vision, and he's got a super voice. Now, the smell and the voice are two things that aren't depicted a lot, but basically, Superman can smell things from a long ways away, sort of like how he can see things from a long ways away. And he can also kind of throw his voice like a ventriloquist, which is really neat because sometimes he can use his voice as a loudspeaker. All right, moving on. Superman's enemies are kind of basic. Not really gonna lie here because he's a god, he's an alien, and not many things can go toe to toe with him. So the things that do go toe to toe with him are often super strong, or just from a different planet, from a different type of thing. And his enemies include Lex Luthor, of course, Bizarro, who's an alternate version of Superman. He's like the opposite. He does everything opposite. He wants to be a superhero, but he also hates Superman. It's kind of a weird relationship they have. Mr. Mxyzptlk, who I could not say. I could not pronounce his name when I saw it spelled out, and I know he's from the Superman animated series. The first time I saw him when I was a very young child, and it was really cool to see him in a TV show. Of course, he's like Superman's Batmite. Then there's Doomsday and Darkseid, two of the strongest things. Doomsday actually killed Superman a couple of decades ago, and then the world had to live without Superman. But of course, he came back to life because he's freaking Superman. Then we've got Toyman, Professor Hamilton, who was a good guy for a while. Then he went to the bad side because he hated Superman. Now he started working for Star Labs. He does work for Star Labs. Titano, Solomon Grundy, Silver Banshee, Metallo, who has a kryptonite core, Lobo, and Brainiac. Lobo is the last of his kind, and he's a bounty hunter. Goes around space hunting for bounties. Sometimes he catches Superman, other times he doesn't. Brainiac's that big robot thing who's sometimes a little chip, sometimes implanted in Lex Luthor in the Justice League cartoon. He's a real dick, is what I'm trying to say. For weaknesses, Superman's weaknesses are really interesting because not a lot of things can hurt him. Of course, we've got Kryptonite, which is his planet, which is kind of like kept his powers in check, combined with the red sun. Now, the red sun's rays that beat down on Superman actually dampen his powers and are slowly killing him, kind of like Kryptonite. Well, not slowly killing him, but they make him a regular human being. But Kryptonite definitely does kill him. And then, of course, because Kryptonite is a super radiated part of his planet. Then there's the red sun, of course. Then there's lead. He can't see through lead. So if you just had like a lead suit and Superman's trying to see your tiny little bits, then you couldn't do that. It's used by Brainiac and Lex Luthor all the time. If Lex Luthor wants to hide something, then he encases it in lead. There's one episode in I think, Justice League or maybe Superman, animated series. I want to say Justice League, where Lex Luthor built an entire city for homeless people, and then Superman was so paranoid that he was like trying to search for a way that there's a problem that Lex Luthor might be doing something diabolical, might just be he's hiding hiding something. So Superman is like looking at all these things, and then he looks underground, sees this thing blinking, but it's encased in lead. So he goes underground, destroys the entire city, and he finds that it's nothing. It's something that's going to help power the city. And he's like, "Why are you encased in lead?" And Lex Luthor's like, "Oh, I didn't want anybody, exposed to it." Superman's really paranoid sometimes. And his the final weakness that Superman has is humanity. Now, it's interesting because with Superman being the strongest superhero of all time, I dare you contest me on that. He's still strong. He does this thing where he cares about humans too much. You can see that in the latest Man of Steel movie that came out in 2013 or 2014, one of those years. That 2012. That Superman really cares about humans, and if it weren't for the way he cares about humans, then a lot of people would just be dead. Now, Superman holds back in a lot of fights, and sometimes he's like, let's take this fight elsewhere. Of course, in Man of Steel, he didn't, because that's a younger Superman, but animated series comic book Superman would be like, let's take this fight to a desert, and then they'll fight in a desert, kind of like Dragon Ball Z, and destroy millions of desert creatures. But humans are alive, that's okay. So Superman really cares about humanity, and of course he will do anything to save them. And we're moving on to sidekicks right now. Superman's got 3 super sidekicks that are animals. He's got Krypto the super dog, Streaky the super cat, and Comet the super horse. All 3 of these animals have been featured, I don't want to say prominently, but they're in the comics. Krypto had his own TV show. Streaky was in it, I believe. He was in one of the shows. And I don't think I've ever seen Comet animated. Of course, there's Supergirl, Jimmy Olsen, Superboy, Lois and Lucy Lane, Lana Lang, the 3 different people, Perry White, Chloe Sullivan, Steel, which is also a 1997 Shaq movie based on the same character, and Superwoman, who's had many mantles and stuff. All those people help Superman or Clark Kent in his life becoming the better person that he is. Chloe Sullivan is from the 2000 CW show Smallville, and now she's been made to continuity about 6 years ago into the DC Comics, and maybe in the New 52 reboot, but whatever. That's the entire thing's been rebooted with Convergence last summer. It's really not a big deal. They just restarted the entire series. The kind of thing they did in Marvel. Marvel did the same thing. Anyway, I digress. Now we're moving on to Superman and the other media. Now, of course, Superman's been portrayed millions of times, hundreds of thousands of times. I went from a higher number to a lower number. That's how math works. Superman has been portrayed by the likes of James Hames Newton, Dean Cain in Lois and Clark, the New Superman Adventures, Tom Welling, Brandon Routh, Christopher Reeve, of course, and Henry Cavill right now currently. And then we've got for voice only, he's been voiced in a ton of on the radio and also in theatrical shorts. That's what they used to do in the 50s. You used to have to pay a nickel, go into a 20-minute movie, and then leave and be like, oh boy, that was great. Let's go beat some Negroes. Of course, he's been voiced by Bob Hastings, Danny Dark. Now, Tim Daly is one of the biggest Superman voices of all time. He's voiced Superman in the animated series, the Batman Superman movie, Shadow of Apocalypse, Brainiac Attacks, a whole bunch of things. And of course, people really love him. Then he was followed up by Christopher McDonald and Batman Beyond. That's a futuristic Batman show that we'll tackle that in the Batman episode. And of course, George Newbern has also voiced some of the Batman. So Tim Daly and George Newbern are two of the best ones. They've got Justice League, Static Shock, Justice League Unlimited, the Batman, Shazam, and Superman, The Return of Black Adam, just a whole bunch of things, and Injustice: Gods Among Us. And of course, famous people have voiced Superman. Brandon Routh reprised his role in Superman Returns, the video game. Not a good game. Yuri Lowenthal, I can't pronounce his name, the guy from Ben 10, I believe. He also voiced Superman and Legion of Superheroes. Crispin Freeman, Michael Dangerfield, Kyle MacLachlan in Justice League: The New Frontier, David Lodge, Mark Harmon, Nolan North, one of the best voiceover artists of all time. Love that guy to death. And of course, Blair Underwood, Superman Tokyo, Travis Willingham, one of the best video game voices of all time, Matt Bomer, Channing Tatum in the Lego Movie, if you guys have seen that. Of course, I've seen it 1,000 times. Alan Tudyk, Jerry O'Connell, and Benjamin Bratt. So there's been a ton of Superman voices. It's kind of not, hard to get that voice. Of course, all you gotta do is sound like a big blue Boy Scout. One of his many nicknames, such as the Man of Steel, a big blue Boy Scout. Now, in animated film, Superman started out with the 2006 Brainiac Attacks, straight DVD movie, as with the rest of the animated films that DC has done. But DC is really good with their animated films and featuring lots and lots of characters. So for the Superman universe, you get the Olsens, Jimmy Olsen, of course. You get the Lanes, you get Lucy, you get all the good people that you really love, and Kara, Supergirl, of course. And then he was in Doomsday, Justice League: The New Frontier, Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, and Superman, Batman, Apocalypse. They both starred because sometimes they're on the run, sometimes they fight with Wonder Woman. That's a very important thing. They fight with Wonder Woman sometimes. Crisis on Two Earths, Apocalypse, Batman, Under the Red Hood, Superman, Shazam, All-Star Superman, in which I know I said that Superman really cares about humanity, but it's Superman versus the Elite. Superman is an anime movie. Superman fought against these guys called the Elite. They were dickish little British kids, and they had powers and stuff, and Superman had to learn how to overcome his love of humanity, and he lobotomized. He does this a lot. He lobotomized the leader, I guess. He lobotomized him, and the leader can't do anything with his life anymore. He's kind of like a potato. And he lobotomized, I believe, Doomsday before, which is great because, it's great for us because Doomsday is no longer attacking us, but he did lobotomize somebody, which kind of goes against his code. Sort of like how Batman doesn't use a gun, but when you see a Batman that uses a gun, then you go kind of ape crazy. Of course, he's appeared in Lego Batman games, Lego Batman 1, Lego Batman 2, DC Heroes Unite, which, in fact, does not bring the Justice League into the mix until a little more than half after the game, of course. And then there's Lego Batman 3, Beyond Gotham, which takes place in space, and you almost immediately get to play as the entire Justice League. Then there's, of course, Lego has been using their Warner Brothers partnership and licensing to make all of the Lego-based things that you love, like the Lego DC Comics superheroes, Justice League versus Bizarro League, which is the Justice League versus a bunch of opposite people, kind of like how Bizarro's opposite of Superman. Bizarro is going to Earth, and he's trying to find a new home for his Bizarro friends that were created by Lex Luthor. I just recently watched this, that's why I know it by heart. There's a Bizarro Wonder Woman, Bizarro Cyborg, Bizarro Green Arrow, Bizarro, all these different characters, and of course Batman doesn't trust him. Because this is a part of time when Superman is kind of not newish, but Batman and Superman aren't really friends. And then there's Lego Batman Beleaguered, and then all these different Lego things. Now, Superman in film has been kind of strange because it started in 1948. There was a serial with 15 chapters, and those were like these things you had to go see in these 15-cent theaters. I went from a nickel to 15 cents. Then there's Superman and the Mole Men, one of the biggest things. That's one of the ones I saw because I have the Superman box set on DVD. I am still single, guys. Ladies. Now, of course, you would know Superman from Superman the movie, one of the biggest things in superhero history ever. Richard Donner directed it, and it starred Christopher Reeve and Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, and a bunch of Ned Beatty, a bunch of other people. It was great, fantastic, and I believe it still kind of stands up today. It's better than Age of Ultron. Of course, we've got Superman 2, Superman 3. Then it just all went downhill after Superman 2. Superman 2, there were several cuts because Richard Lester directed it, but then, Richard Donner had it's a whole thing. So they kind of just went downhill after 2. 2 was fantastic. One of the best superhero movies of all time. I think that's the one where Superman reversed time. Might be the first one. Don't remember. Superman 3, which was not that good. And had Richard Pryor and Annette O'Toole and Robert Vaughn. And there was Richard Pryor is this manufacturer, inventor, or whatever. And he's a bad guy. And it's not funny. It's not good. It's a waste. But watch it. It's fantastic. Then there's a 1984 Supergirl movie, which is a spinoff of the Superman movies. Not going to get into it. Then there's Superman 4, Quest for Peace. I believe that movie is 87 minutes long, and I remember watching it for one time, not liking it at all. Then we've got Superman Returns 2006 with Brandon Routh. It's kind of a drama, more so than it is a superhero movie, but people have sticks up their butt. They want like this epic. And this movie, which was directed by Bryan Singer, was doing something different. It took place. It's technically Superman 5. It took place after Quest for Peace. Superman went into space and he was trying to rebuild Krypton. Blah blah blah. It comes back and now it's like Lois has moved on after Superman. I'm gonna spoil the movie for you. Knocked her up. He leaves and then he comes back. The child's like 5 years old and Lois Lane, who's played by Kate Bosworth, has moved on to James Marsden, and it's just like, James Marsden or Superman. I'd go James Marsden too. Kevin Spacey's in it, and then he's Lex Luthor, and he does a great job. Cal Penn's in it, and he's silent, and this is like at the height of the White Castle, so that's kind of weird. But anyway, Lex Luthor wants to get Superman and stuff, but he also wants to kind of build a fortress of solitude, like a new island, so that he could start building things on it, buildings and businesses and all this stuff. And Superman stops him, and it's really a good movie if you go back and look at it. Good, bad, subjective, whatever. Superman Returns is a fine film. Brandon Routh did an admirable job. I'm not gonna say great, admirable, kind of robotic is what I can remember. But it was long, had a nice couple of action scenes, but it was really dramatic. So if you want to see something different, check it out. Then, of course, we've got Man of Steel in 2013. I was right about that. Directed by Zack Snyder, and Henry Cavill takes up the mantle of the Man of Steel, of course, and then Amy Adams, Russell Crowe, Kevin Costner, Diane Lane, Lawrence Fishburne, and Michael Shannon. All, I'm not going to name the characters, but they all do it. Michael Shannon did a great job as General Zod. Of course, we got our second General Zod, which is like, do we really need a second one? But in this one, Superman is kind of a wandering drifter hipster. He works on like a whaler boat, and he just goes around saving the world, just like not saving the world, but saving people. And then he lives by himself. He's crazy. Then he goes back home, and he's like, I want to get a job at the place, and he tries to find a job. He's Superman at the same time. Then there's that infamous scene where he fought General Zod after General Zod was trying to terraform Earth into a new Krypton, and Superman fought off 3 or 4 separate villains in this movie. They're all, of course, they were all like Zod and his cronies, but he fought them all off. He still won. People are mad about product placement. They're mad about destruction of Metropolis, which will happen, which is fantastic. Who cares? He's Superman. In Age of Ultron, the Avengers Ultron picked up an entire continent and he dropped it. He's picking it up. All these people are dying. Nobody talks about people dying in the event, is what they call it. And the first Avengers, when all those aliens came by and started snatching up people and eating them and stuff, no one talks about how many people died then. Nobody talks about how many people died in Iron Man 1. No one talks about that. No one talks about this. So it's who cares if Man of Steel had unrealistic, a fight scene that destroyed 500,000, people. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's superhero movies, It's stupid. Arguing about the wrong thing. Of course, and then now we come up to Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. Now, this wouldn't be the first time, like I said, with Superman and Batman Apocalypse, in which Apocalypse came to Earth, and I think that's the one with Wonder Woman where they fought whatever on the Kent farm. And then there's Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, where the two were blamed for a lot of bad stuff, and some villains attack them. A lot. But they have this tenuous relationship where Superman is like this super alien god, and the only person, like J. Jonah Jameson against Spider-Man, who doesn't like him, is Batman. And Batman's like, I don't trust you, man. You're blah, blah, blah. And it's really interesting, the dynamic between the two. Sometimes in Justice League, they're friends. But, other times, Batman's at his throat. Like in Justice Gods Among Us, Batman reveals that he has a, hidden kryptonite gun that he can shoot Superman with. Of course, Batman always has contingency measures, blah, 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 for, whatever. Okay, but Superman and Batman are, generally friends. They did create the Justice League together, and they did decide to send the Watchtower to the sky. And the Watchtower is very interesting because when the government finds out about the Watchtower, they want them to bring it down because there's a super laser on it, and if the laser shot Earth, it could kill a lot of people, probably kill the entire Earth. But they decided to bring the Watchtower down. Well, they also saw the Watchtower, but then they also have a Hall of Justice on the ground, and it's a whole thing. I'll talk about that in the third video. And now, recently in the video, of course, we've learned a lot about Superman today, but where's the Batman stuff? Oh, don't you worry, your pretty little head. That's coming in the next video. Now, of course, the cereal is very good. It's delicious. Like I said, I liked it. I took a lot of bites off camera, but there's still a lot of soggy pieces in here. Been talking for a while. What I say about this cereal, I will give you my verdict in the final video. There's going to be 3. Haha! Get ready. Enjoy.